Government has reached agreement with unions representing over 1 million NHS workers on a fair and reasonable pay settlement. This agreement rightly recognises the fantastic work that our NHS workers like nurses, midwives and paramedics do, whilst also being affordable for the taxpayer and allowing us to deliver on our promises to halve inflation and cut NHS waiting lists. It's a good example of this government getting things done and delivering for the British people.
You say it's affordable for the taxpayers. You won't mind telling us how much it's going to cost and where the money's going to come from?
Well, I think no one can doubt our commitment to the NHS. After I became Prime Minister in the autumn statement, we announced £14 billion of more funding for the NHS and social care. That's because it's the country's #1 priority. It's my #1 priority, and that's why it's well funded. And we will make sure that we continue to deliver on our promise to cut waiting lists. Now that we've got this pay agreement, everyone is united in wanting to deliver the best possible care for patients up and down the country, and that will be our focus.
I've noticed you completely swerved my question. I mean, how much is it going to cost? And you say if it's good for taxpayers, where is the money going to come from? Frontline services?
No, absolutely not. We are going to be making sure that we protect all frontline services with £14 billion of more funding that we announced at the end of last year. No one can doubt our commitment to making sure that the NHS is well funded. That will always remain the case. And we've got a great plan in place to make improvements. And you're already seeing the results of that plan. In fact, if you look at ambulance waiting times or waiting times in A&E, they're already improving considerably from a couple of months ago, and we're on track to keep bringing the waiting list down. And with this pay agreement, now everyone is going to be united behind that, and we can deliver really fantastic quality care for patients up and down the country. That's what everyone in the NHS wants to do. They're being backed fully to the hilt to deliver it, and I look forward to doing that for the country. OK,
well, I'll try my best on that. Well, let me try on whether this is essentially a plan, an outline now for future kind of negotiations when it comes to strikes. Junior doctors still going on strike, rail workers too. Is it this idea of a one-off payment for last year and then a pay rise? Is this the kind of playbook, if you like?
Well, I'm really pleased that we've reached agreement today with unions representing over 1 million NHS workers. And we've always been clear. We want to have constructive dialogue with unions. We're serious about finding fair and reasonable agreements on public sector pay. I think today's agreement demonstrates that. And what I'd say to all other unions is, please don't be striking. Please come in and have those talks. We've been wanting to do that. And today's agreement demonstrates we're serious about it. We don't want disruption for patients. We don't want disruption for school children in our classrooms. So, please come and get round the table. I'm confident we can find a way through this. Today's agreement demonstrates we're serious about this, and we can find workable solutions.
Just two final questions. First of all, on strike itself, you talked about negotiations there, but hasn't this proven just the government's caved in? That if you want to get a better pay deal, nothing better to do than simply just go on strike?
Well, today's pay agreement is fair for NHS workers. We want to make sure that we reward them and recognise the hard work they do, whether that's nurses, paramedics, midwives, but it's also fair for taxpayers. And this was important to us as well. It needs to be affordable, and it needs to be consistent with our promise to halve inflation and then get on to cutting NHS waiting lists. That's why we've had constructive dialogue. Today's agreement is fair for everybody, and it was right that we got to this type of solution. I'm really pleased that with this behind us now, we are united in wanting to just get on, deliver high quality patient care, bring the waiting list down. That's what the country wants to see. That's what we're going to deliver.
Just very finally, relating this to the budget, one of the reasons that people went on strike is a cost of living crisis, and that's linked to inflation. But it's also going to be next month going to be linked to increased taxes. Lots of millions of workers are going to pay more tax for next month, taking money out of their pocket, including nurses and doctors. Do you accept that those tax rises, effectively, because there's a threshold, the fiscal drag it's caused, is going to add to the cost of living crisis? The government is actually making things worse for people.
The #1 challenge with the cost of living is inflation, and particularly with energy bills. So if there's one measure from the budget that I'd ask people to kind of take away with them, it's our continued plan to support people with the cost of energy. Now, what we did last year is made a decision to tax the windfall profits of energy companies and to use that money to help cut people's energy bills. And because of the actions we've taken, people are going to receive £1,500 of direct support off their energy bills last year in this. That's the right thing to do. And if there's one thing you take away from the budget, it's that this government is doing everything it can to help you with the cost of your energy bills. And that's what we will continue doing.
But there are also millions of people going to pay a lot more tax. £500 for the average taxpayer, £1,000 if you're a top taxpayer. That means less money in their pockets. The government is adding to the cost of living crisis.
No, the government is helping a typical family in our country to the tune of £1,500 off their energy bill, and we've been able to do that because we decided to tax the windfall profits of energy companies, and we're using that money to take people's energy bills down. That's what this government is doing. We want to help people with the cost of living, particularly with energy bills, and because we tax the windfall profits of those energy companies, we're using that money to discount energy bills. It's worth £1,500 for a typical family, and I think that will demonstrate that this government is on people's side. We care about this, and we're going to keep supporting you.